Good evening, everyone. Live from the nation's capital. This is the Exceptional Conservative Show. Your host, the Exceptional One, Ken McClellan. A little reggae festive. Tonight, we want to talk about... Good evening, everyone. Live from the nation's capital. This is the Exceptional Conservative Show. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, so good I have to repeat myself apparently. Tonight, I want to talk about the wicked perception of wealth in urban America. A wicked view of production in urban America. I want to talk about that. I want to bring it to you live. I want to bring you a clear perspective on what makes me capitalistic. We'll be back. But we want to start this off right. Let's pledge allegiance, everyone.
Buenas tardes, niños. This is Spanish with Señora Cabrera. Today we will learn how to say the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish. In English, we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, in Spanish we say, juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa, una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Muy bien. Practice your Pledge of Allegiance, and the more you practice, the faster you will memorize. I'll see you later.
And I will see you now. Welcome to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then to the Socialist. I'm so glad to have you here. Mary is in the chat room.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to show you how to do the in Spanish, and I am going to sing the song in Spanish.
All right, good. I tell you what, young lady, we will bring you on in the second half of our program. Don't look so sad. I tell you, I'm really enjoying tonight. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the Socialist. I want to talk with you tonight about economics. Economics is a way of looking back on the past and prognosticating or planning or interpreting future events. Economics is simply the study of lack. And too many of us look at a nation which at one time was the breadbasket to the world, if not still. And we take a very perverse look at what this country did to become so great. And many of us would start by saying that it was slavery that built this nation. And I would suppose that others would say that discrimination built this nation. And I would suppose others would say that it was the monopolists that built this nation, and how they have... All of those are perverse ways of looking at the finery of economics. Now, let me just say to you, yes, slavery was a competitive economic process, discrimination has been involved in economic production. But in spite of those flaws, America's production supersedes any other nation's productivity in all of history. So you have to say that there is something that still works, some cog that still works, even when the rest of the systems are not. I want to thank you all so much for being here tonight. Mary, my bouncer, is in the chat roll at theexceptionalconservativeShow.com. Love you, Mary. And my lovely bride, my beloved, Mrs. Biggs, is watching via Ustream and Livestream. Love you, babe. Glad to have you here. I wanted to talk about this particular issue because there are those who are dead set on making certain that the errors of the past are reiterated. But not necessarily to the extremes of one side as to the extremes of another. Where we have turned from being a breadbasket nation to being a food stamp nation. From one that says that we must create wealth to one that says we must steal wealth in order to prosper the poor. We have watched a pendulum swing, and a mighty swing it is. And too many of us have now had our view of the study of lack shaped in the iniquity of progressivism, of totalitarianism, of socialism, of Marxism, of communism, shaped in which men determine your pathway, whether you, in spite of you, trying to determine your own. It was not intended in this country, built by businessmen. How do you think we got here? That this nation would become roughly $18 trillion in debt with an unrecorded, well, it recorded, but taken off the table in consideration, perfect, $120 trillion worth of debt. This is not what our founding fathers prescribed for us, nor for those who believe what Booker T. Washington and Frederick Douglass proposed. This was not their dream for urban America either. I want to play something that's very radical. And I want you to hear from Malcolm X. I want you to hear what Malcolm X would say. Now, mind you, Malcolm can be somewhat racial, at least at the time that this was taken. But I want you to take a listen to what Malcolm X says is the key to creating your own wealth.
The desegregation decisions and other type of legislation and Supreme Court decisions depends upon changing the white man's mind. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that our own mind has to be changed. We have to change our mind about ourselves. Right. Well, so he teaches us the importance of moral reformation, a knowledge of self. And, for instance, the average so-called Negro, he doesn't think that he can go into business and provide jobs for himself. And because of this, he thinks that he can only get a job from the white man, or he can only get clothes from the white man, or he can only get food from the white man. And we follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and taught that the same thing that the white man has done for himself and his kind, if our people could if we could be cured of our slave mentality that was indoctrinated into us during slavery, we would realize that just as the white man can do these things for himself and his kind, we can get together in unity and harmony and do the same thing for ourselves and our kind.
That was Malcolm X, okay, many years ago. And many people listen, and that was taken from DreamChasersShow.com. Want to give them a heads up. DreamChasersShow.com. Many people looked at Malcolm X as a very radical individual, and a radical individual he was. He was indeed. And if you would separate out the racial proclivity of his comments, you would sense that this individual understood. It's hard to see you with that camouflage cap. How about that? Is that better? Is that much better? Thank you, Mary. The concept, the production, has been lost on those in urban America. Let me explain to you why. And if you can refute this, go right ahead, tell me. Tell me how you can refute this. But somehow, some of us have been transfixed with a concept, a wicked and unrepentant concept of the good government job. You may have heard individuals talk about getting the good government job, working for Uncle Sam, finding work with Uncle Sam. Dr. Uncle Sam was an article written by Colleen Flaherty on January 6, 2014. You'll find that on Inside Higher Ed. And in writing this, she interviewed an individual called David Nichols. David Nichols, chief of the Asia Middle East Division at the State Department's Office of the Historian, said he never intended to take a government job when he began his graduate program in history at Harvard University. But sensing that the market was difficult, I want you to understand that terminology. A difficult marketplace opened up his eyes to something. But sensing that the market was difficult, approaching his graduation in 2000, he said he cast a wide net. And he's glad he did. Saying his office is regularly privy to classified documents never seen by academic historians, he added, "This kind of opportunity, of course, is what historians live for." And because of many of his colleagues also came from academics, Nichols said, "It feels a lot like graduate school, but it's less competitive and there's more security." I want you to understand what he just said. Can I get this for you? And it's good to know that progressives like to they love to get the stuff that you can't see, the secrets. Dr. Nichols is quoted as saying, "It feels a lot like graduate school, but it's less competitive and there's more security. The good government job." The good government job. What we have trained individuals in urban America to do is to exchange the desire to create wealth with a desire to consume wealth, at least the wealth of others, to protect and to secure our own lifestyle. I know what I'm saying to you tonight is rather radical. Rather radical indeed. And in fact, I would be looked upon as someone who's giving away a certain secret, a certain idea, a certain thought process. Dr. David Nichols is not a black man, but he certainly has identified what makes government jobs so attractive. There's less competition and more security. The exchange of economic security for risk. When we come back, I want to explain to you how in urban America we have exchanged risk for security and have lost our wealth. You're listening to The Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. I'm the Exceptional One, Kevin Clinton. We'll be back right after this.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the Pizza Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. So we're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage, like a cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and original. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous Latin tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burger. So we keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA round chuck hand patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on it until it looks good. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
That's right, baby. Order up! In fact, eat as much as you possibly can. Inspire, indulge, infuse. Infuse, infuse, infuse. In fact, I would recommend highly that you go to infuseinfuse.com, infuseinfuse.com. You know that you have office parties coming up. You know that they need to be catered. Why not be catered by Infuse? I mean, Chef Arnold is off the chain. The owner, Derek Williams, is a good friend of mine. And I love his tenacity for creativity in the kitchen. Listen, you can find Infused Restaurant at 6339 Allentown Road, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. Their telephone number 301-449-9000, 301-449-9000. Infuse.com. I am telling you. Woo! And I know a lot of you all had an opportunity to hear New Day Black and Red out of Philadelphia last weekend, last Saturday at 5 o'clock. And I don't know if we got the Infused commercial in there, but I think I'm going to start doing that so that my good friends from out of Philadelphia, when you come down, you'll know exactly where to go for some good eating. ladies and gentlemen, wanted to bring you to a conversation that needs to be held, a conversation that speaks to the fact that there is a wicked view of production in urban America. One that is so corrupt and so perverse that it strangleholds the creation of wealth in our community. And as a result of that stranglehold, individuals are locked down with an incredible debt, student loan debt, that some may never be able to repay. Others have been so handicapped that the gifts that they have by hands, they believe that they can only use a government program in order to ascertain the wealth that they need. I need a government contract in order to make it. And I know it's easy for me to speak this because I live in Washington, D.C., which is a home of the government town. It's the company store, per se. I hear that term used often. The company store. The company man is the G-man, the government. But the number 2 creation of economy in Washington, D.C. is the service industry. And so what we have here is a failure to virtually produce. It's built on consumption. And eventually, even in a glorious economy, there are certain flaws to being a service-related economy built on government support, government revenue. While there is no end to the creation of wealth, there is an end to the amount of revenue that a finite organization will receive. And a government entity is finite in revenue. It may not be finite in the liabilities it creates, but it certainly is finite in revenue. And in that small spectrum of money that they are to operate in, they often spread that money around to patrons and other entities. And let me just give you an example of this. I don't know if it's still up. Let me type into here. I received a notification today, and I want you all to take a good listen here. A very good listen. It's from Legistorm. I like Legistorm because I get a lot of inside information right off the bat. Steve Shapiro writes today that lobbying filings for the third quarter show revolving season is back after taking a slight dip in recent years. With 3 quarters gone, 2015 has seen 498 people come and go between Congress and the lobbying community. That number already surpasses last year's total of 485 of staffers who became lobbyists and vice versa. Of the 498 revolvers this year, 399 moved from Congress to lobby, and 99 moved from the private sector to Congress. There's a door swinging here. There's a door swinging. Shapiro writes, if this year's pace continues, 2015 will have the highest revolving volume since 2011, which saw nearly 800 people move between the Hill and K Street after Republicans took control of the House. So there's an indication. I want you all to understand something in urban America. You may not be following along at home. You really may be so smitten with the images on ABC News and NBC News and CBS of Joe Biden putting his forehead down on the forehead of Hillary Clinton, celebrating, this is her birthday and everything, so we all should raise up and put our Mao Zedong outfits on. But somehow, that picture so moves you that you have to stay aligned with the socialists. There's no other way to vote but the socialist way, the progressive totalitarian way. You are fixed to that particular thing, and that's okay. But you don't understand the socialists who are on Capitol Hill sees the roll coming towards them. The rock is rolling back towards them. They can see it, and they're beginning like rats to leave the ship. When rats start leaving the ship, you know it's going down. Okay? Shapiro writes, the revolving door is used more often in off-election years. Since 2002, the earliest year for which legislature records a revolving door, election years have averaged 471 revolvers, while off-election years have averaged 717. 2012 saw the lowest number of revolvers in recent years, with only 405 going through the door, which came after an earmarks ban that went into effect in 2011. I want you to pay attention, socialists, who are so, because of your race, dedicated to voting the socialist ticket. The term here for socialists is used, Democrats. Democrats is used for the term socialists here in Shapiro's writing. He says, Democrats have thus far made up 40% of all 2015 revolvers, proportionately slightly less than their congressional makeup, while Republicans account for 59%. The remaining 1% are unaffiliated with either party or serve as bipartisan staff. And I want you to understand this, because I am going to bring this around. I'm going to show you how this connects to economic philosophy and how our wealth is being taken from us, and we have even resolved not to even create it. If 40% of those are socialists that are leaving their good government jobs to find a job lobbying the government to create government programs, and 59% are Republicans, okay, the socialists understand that they're about to lose, and lose in a landslide in this election. And I want to give some comfort, and I know, folks at home, are watching the game and everything, and many of my brethren have long gone from this particular program, as they want to stick to something on a regular bent. That's not going to be interrupted with breakdowns technologically, and that's cool. But here we go. I want to put that in there for those who are watching via the ExceptionalConservative.com. 59% of the lobbyists that are leaving, or forgive me, the political staffers that are leaving, are Republicans. I want you to understand conservatives. I want you to understand conservatives. This is not 59% of conservatives who are leaving, because conservatives don't make up the large scale, the large size of the Congress. In fact, to be earnest, conservatives probably account for, maybe, if you include the Freedom Caucus, maybe a good 30%. So why are you bringing this up, Ken? Why? It's just 30%, Ken. I mean, come on now. The reason is very simple. Okay, one of the cameras is off. All right. Isn't that special? Okay. Okay, hopefully everyone can see me via the Ustream. Okay. The reason is very simple in terms of what happens here. Rhinos, or Republicans in name only, are preparing their staff for a landslide by conservatives. A landslide by conservatives is coming. I know what the polls are telling you. I know what they're saying about you. I understand exactly what they're saying to you. That no way. There's no way. Hey, forget about it. Forget about it. Paul Ryan. Newt Gingrich. And all the rest of them. All say, don't worry about it. You will return. Ladies and gentlemen, the staffers know that people leave their posts when there's no security in the post. They're under the assumption, and it's a good one, that you, Mr. and Mrs. American, are about to sweep Washington out. They feel it. They see it. They smell it. And I pray with you, Mary, that there are real conservatives coming to Washington, D.C. But people don't leave their jobs like this unless they have an inkling that something bigger than they've ever seen before is coming their way. And remember, 2011 was the biggest number until now. 2011 was the off year before the 2012 election, which you said conservatives of Washington and expected them to act. The recent remarks and actions by the Freedom Caucus to consider Paul Ryan, representative from Wisconsin, for the speakership, and to listen to the South Carolina representative, Mulvaney, who earlier today lamented the fact that he supported Paul Ryan when those at home were telling him that he should not have and that he'll pay a great dividend for supporting him. There's change in the air. Now, why are you saying this, Ken? Why are you talking about good government jobs? Why are you talking about all this? How does this connect with the concept of a good government job, Ken? When we come back, I want to talk with you about how urban Americans traded the risk of creating wealth for the security of a good government job. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know that on November the 6th, Friday, November the 6th at 7 p.m., and listen, if I can't yell out loud, then I guess no one ever will. This is a very important event, and I hope that you share this along with many, many people throughout your social networks. And I encourage you to go to our Facebook page. And in fact, I'm going to put that Facebook page clipping right in our chat roll at the Exceptional Conservative Show. Bam, there we go. Real Solutions. Yeah. Friday, November the 6th at 7 p.m. at the Junior League of Baltimore Incorporated. That's at 5902 York Road, Baltimore, Maryland, 21212. Junior League of Baltimore Incorporated, 5902 York Road, Baltimore, Maryland, 21212. The tickets are free. Real Solutions Town Hall Assembly. Listen, Real Solutions Town Hall Assembly has been scheduled by the Open Heart Closed Case campaign. During the Baltimore homicide crisis, our culture of fear and death has shown a bright spotlight on the response of our most revered institutions, individuals and families, economists, educators, political servants, and faith leaders. There seems to be a moral disconnect in how we respond to the most prescient threats of unresolved homicides, critical missing persons, and exploited children. Worse, there seems to be an endless number of meetings with few results. The nation awaits our most sincere and effectual response. Bishop Wellington Boone, retired Pennsylvania Superior Court Judge Cheryl Lynn Allen, and St. Louis Ferguson, Missouri Alderman Jeffrey Boyd will join us for a national conversation on our most effectual cultural response to the public safety concerns of Baltimore, Maryland. We seek real solutions for families and neighborhoods in great need. We will bring those solutions to you live Friday, November the 6th at 7 p.m., Junior League of Baltimore Incorporated, 5902 York Road, Baltimore, Maryland, 21212. I encourage you to go to our Facebook page and share the Facebook page at the Open Heart Closed Case campaign and let the world know that real solutions are right around the corner and that you're a part of them. I really want to thank you all so much for making this your public service announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. Mary Brockman, the bouncer, is in our chat roll. If you diss her, you diss me, and you will be dismissed. She's telling me that next Tuesday I should be on time, but she may be late. And the reason why she may be late is that it's elections in Ohio. And I believe my wife and I are planning to go up this weekend to support Eddie Siplin in Akron, Ohio, and encourage others to participate in that particular activity. But I'm encouraging Mary and every conservative that's up there, vote like a socialist and lie like Hillary Clinton. There you go. That's what you do. Vote twice if you got them. No. Oh, man. You know, every socialist in America is standing near a cemetery right about here, getting ready for the election season. That's what you do. You go to the cemetery and you register people. It's absolutely true. That's what socialists do. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about a very perverse, a wicked view of production in urban America, one that has convinced individuals, especially of a race, a certain race, where we only make up 13% of the population, and you can call yourself African American, Negro, black, colored, whatever fits. 13% of the American population, yet 18% of the government. African Americans have been convinced, or coloreds, or blacks, or Negroes have been convinced that in order for you to survive, in order for you to thrive, in order for you to have success, you must have a government job. You must have a good government job. And what you will find is what David Nichols found, a less competitive environment with greater security. Well, not to say that you lose any skill sets. You may actually do, but who knows? Well, a lot of people do. But in this regard, your challenge isn't from, my friend, those who have iron to sharpen the iron. In fact, if you're in a less competitive environment, you're not being shapen to deal with the issues of private industry. You cannot truly regulate private industry if you don't garner the skills necessary to work in private industry or to festively thrive in private industry. Now, I'm not saying that every person needs to work in private industry, but I'm also not saying everyone needs to work in government. I want you to know that there is a need to create jobs. Well, I know everyone is sitting back saying, hey, Kim, I don't know why you're talking about this particular issue. You're completely off the reservation here. And those people will be chastised for using a culturally insensitive description. However, the unemployment rate in urban America in certain neighborhoods is comparable to the unemployment rate in Egypt, or comparable to the unemployment rate in Western Europe for many groups. Double-digit unemployment, especially amongst young men between the ages of 18 and 25, creates a sense of reticence for those who have conveyed this particular message, and as well a sense of shock that the creation of good government jobs was not sufficient enough to deal with the production issue. I want you to understand, production is not the icon of government. It isn't. Government can't create enough jobs to produce the amount of wealth needed to create enough labor and jobs, opportunities for people who are unemployed. It just can't do it. It can't. There are those who will walk around and say, like John A. Lawrence, who's a former chief of staff to House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, a California socialist, who said his government job provided a front row seat to history. He listened to Pelosi take a call from President Obama on his strategy regarding the Libyan civil war. Wow. To be there for the front lines of history. But that is not what most government jobs do. You're part of a bureaucracy. Lawrence went on to say, the profession remains far too cautious about encouraging jobs outside academia, and a job in government shouldn't be seen as a consolation prize, but rather a meaningful, fulfilling work. It is a work. But a greater work would be the creation of jobs for other people. I want to take you to the writings, and I'm reading these writings. In fact, let me just put this in the chat roll here so people won't say that I'm making this up as I go along. Here we go. This is from Franklin Delano Roosevelt. How exciting, not? This is from Franklin Delano Roosevelt's archives. And I want to read for you his actual writing, the actual writing of his second Bill of Rights. And there are edits that he makes. We have come to a clear realization of the fact, however, that true individual freedom cannot exist without economic security and independence. Now, mind you, the term independence here, okay, comes after the phrase economic security. I want you to understand it also comes after the verb cannot. And also the question, however, here, as we turn a phrase. So let me read it the way it should read. He said, we have come to a clear realization of the fact. The fact. Notice it's a fact. It cannot be a theory. It is a law. Although there are not too many laws in economic theory that encourage people to exchange normative risk for economic security. So let me just say that. But he says we have come to a clear realization of the fact that true individual freedom, it can exist with economic security. That's really what he's saying. That you add independence is a political moniker. There is not individual freedom for persons who have economic security guaranteed. Remember what the founding fathers who borrowed from John Locke wrote. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of private property. That's what John Locke wrote in the 1600s. Okay, that's what he wrote. He was writing, 1700. He was writing to a people who were beginning to look at business as a way of creating not a middle class, but a group of people that were not under the tyranny of noblemen or under the blissful ignorance of poverty. The whole concept of exchanging the security of a nobleman taking care of your very life on his land, that you would have the right to purchase your own land, and you become the nobleman for your land. You and your family develop that land, create wealth by selling your products. Commerce Clause was created to help people sell their products and do it individually, not have to wait for the collective government to regulate it. There is a false message in FDR's first paragraph here. Taking away the risk does not ensure security first, nor does it ensure independence. He goes on. Necessitous men are not free men. People who are hungry and out of a job are the stuff of which dictatorships are made. Well, wait a minute. Of which dictatorships are made is a phrase in and of itself. People who are hungry and out of a job are the stuff. What's the stuff? Well, the stuff is where there is uncertainty, individuals Let's take a look at the etymology of dictator, okay? I just want to put that out there for you. Because you have to be very careful when you're listening to someone. You have to be able to decipher what they're saying and what they're meaning by what they say. He is putting across a Marxist understanding of production. Let's see, go back there. I just had it. There we go. Okay. I want you to take a look at dictator for just one moment. Because I'm quite certain a man who did not want to be involved in World War II, who knew that Lenin was a dictator and Stalin to become a dictator. Obviously, those are the dictators that we knew, but he's talking about something else here. One who has absolute power or authority. One who has absolute power or authority. The stuff is the lack of certainty. That's what economics is. It's a lack of certainty. Dictators use hunger, something that they can't solve in and of themselves, no matter how much money they take from other people, and your inability to find work. And what they do is they mask their noble intentions to help you find work, keep your kids fed, and then they begin to take absolute control, little by little. People who are hungry and out of a job are the stuff of which dictatorships are made. Let me ask you something. Is Common Core dictatorial? Don't tell me because you voted on socialism that it was free will. Is it dictatorial? That someone from Washington, D.C. can tell you how to teach your kids? Is Obamacare dictatorial? That somebody from Washington, D.C. can actually take away affordable health care for you, repackage it after taking their wealth from the pharmaceutical and insurance companies through patronage or lobbying or financial support for elections, funding, donors, change laws, and leaving you hungry for health care. I want to ask you here, have any of the economic policies of this administration truly created free men? Or have they stymied free men? Many of you will answer back, stymied. Well, what happened? After the crash in 2008, when you had George Bush, President of the United States of America, say that he had to use socialism in order to save capitalism, tells you everything that you need to know about those who are influencing your economy. They're not seeking for your economic success. They're seeking for absolute authority. How is it that a Congress filled with Republicans on both sides of the aisle can't stop a president from vetoing the National Defense Authorization Act? Ask yourself that question. Are the people in Washington really interested in you becoming independent? Or are the people in Washington interested in you becoming economically secure? Becoming economically secure means that you will have lackings in labor, in politics, and certainly in wealth creation. When we come back in the 10 o'clock hour, we're going to try to get in contact with Lonnie Poindexter from the Lion Chaser Show, and we will continue our conversation about a wicked view of production in urban America. Thank you so much for listening to the Exception Conservative Show live from Washington, D.C. We'll be right back. Do the old man reggae dance, man. You got one move, use it.
Hi everyone, I'm going to show you how to do the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish, and I am going to sing a song in Spanish that I haven't ever seen before. And one in English probably, if we have time. I'm going to start. Prometo dejar a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo a Dios, indivisible, por libertad y justicia para todos. Now everybody, I am going to sing you a song and then I'll do one in English. Arre caballito, vamos a beber, que mañana es fiesta, pasado también. Arre, que mañana es fiesta. Arre caballito, vamos a beber, que mañana es fiesta, pasado también. Arre.
I don't know. I don't know what she said. I don't know what she said in the song, but I understood the Pledge of Allegiance. One nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, glad to have you back. I don't know what you said, but that was Mariah. Age 7, that was back in 2011 when she did the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish and some Spanish song. Somebody will call and tell me exactly what she said, and I will really appreciate you doing so. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the socialist. The beautiful and the brilliant Mrs. Biggs is sitting in her office watching via live stream and Ustream. Yours truly, I'm on both of those, and also in the ExceptionalConservative.com room with the beautiful and brilliant Mary Brockman. Mary Brockman is my bouncer. If you diss her, you diss me, and you will be dismissed. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to now the maestro, the man of the hour. Okay, can't do that. Got to do that one. Okay, we're going to try to get in contact with Lonnie Poindexter. Lonnie Poindexter is the man. He's out there in Utah A, or AH, Utah AH, IH, and he is talking with many people out there. I believe also Ralph Chittums is out there as well, and they are. Well, they'll tell you what they're out there for. It's probably just to have a riotous time in the great old city of Salt Lake. Oh man, I'm telling you, if you were ever going to use a city, Salt Lake would be the one, boy. You're gonna be trusted there. If you tell your wife you're going to Salt Lake City, she will say, "Oh, okay." We're calling out to the wonderful Lonnie Poindexter. We're calling Lonnie Poindexter. Ringy dingy 1, ringy dingy 2. Okay. All right. Oh man, I tell you, if I am really trying to get the bugs out of this whole system here. Some days it works and some days it don't. Is that possible? Possible that some days it works, some days it don't? Okay. Let's see here. We're going to do our very best here at getting this information together. All right. So we're going to, apparently Skype had to update, and I'm glad that Skype updated. That's what it did. It updated it. Oh, man. If you ever have to update it, we will once again call for the wonderful, the great Lonnie Poindexter, good friend of ours, Lion Chasers Radio. You can hear it at 11 a.m. until 1 on Urban Family Talk. Urban Family Talk. Here we go. We're dialing. Dialing Lonnie. Dialing for Lonnie Poindexter. Wonderful Salt Lake City. For the family.
Hello.
Good day. This is Ken McClinton. This is the Exceptional Conservative Show. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how's it going, brother?
Just fine. I hear you're having a wonderful time out in Salt Lake City.
Well, brother, it's a similar event here taking place at the World Congress of Family. Today we had the Family Watch International Summit, and you had leaders in the pro-life and pro-family community from all over the world have assembled here in Salt Lake City. Attendance is somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 plus folks that have our worldview from all over the world.
Wow, 3,000, Salt Lake City. Now you're at the. This is the World Congress of Families. What is the World Congress of Families all about?
It's an association of pro-family and pro-life organizations from all over the world that are assembled for this event that they do every 2 years. It's the first time that's taken place in the United States, and it's I believe the biggest that it's been so far. It's growing, given the lay of the land and what's happening with the political division and what we're dealing with in Washington. So I had it here this year, and I was blessed to be able to attend it, and I was a subject matter expert on the panel concerning abortion in the Black community.
Wow!
And every nation just about in the world is represented here.
Awesome. Now you had that panel today on abortion, but first and foremost, in our community, I wouldn't know of too many African Americans who are interested in pro-life issues. I mean, is that a concern out there at the World Congress?
You know what's really interesting? We met pro-life and pro-family individuals from Nigeria, Antigua, from Barbados, from South Africa, and other African nations. And here's what they told us. They said, we need Black conservatives like yourselves to come to our nation to help us push back on this agenda from Washington, D.C., between the homosexual agenda in the Planned Parenthood that is trying to drive these initiatives down our throats, and they're using the funding that would come from the federal government to hold over our heads. In other words, if you don't acquiesce, you don't accept this new agenda, we're holding back funding.
Wow.
And we need your help. We did not know that there were black Christian conservatives that existed in America. I go, man, they're not just a handful, there are thousands of pastors across the country that have our worldview. We're just representatives of it, and we'd be more than happy to come to your nation and help you speak on behalf of these issues.
No, I most certainly would love to do that. And part of this pushback, and we're talking tonight with Lonnie Poindexter from Urban Family Talk, the Lion Chaser Show out in Salt Lake City, Utah, for the World Congress of Families, and hosted for the first time in the U.S. here. But there are so many overseas, Richard Semper being one of those who talks with me from East Africa. There are so many who are offended that the first black president of the United States of America with African heritage has been pushing that agenda. Am I correct on that?
You're 100% correct. They're offended and they're actually hurt to see that America, who has been the leader on moral issues, has completely flip-flopped with this current administration in power. And so, as I stated before, they were happy to see folks who just have to look like them, paint job-wise, that share their same values. And here's what I learned. Jamaica and much of the African nations have not repealed the sodomy laws or adopted any of the same-sex marriage laws and regulations in their nation that have been adopted here.
Now, we know that in Kenya, that this administration spent $1 million through various super PACs to change the Constitution for abortion.
Yes.
Now, that was not received well and here at home by many in the evangelical community. But what say you regarding urban Americans on this particular issue? Are you just the only person representing us there, sir?
Well, we represent, as I'm sure you're familiar with, the Frederick Douglass Foundation is here with Reverend Dean Nelson, an organization that represents up to 27 chapters across the country at the grassroots level that share our worldview. We haven't done a final tally, but between Urban Family Talk Pastoral Network, Dean Nelson's Pastor Network, and several others that we work with, we have literally thousands of black pastors from across the country that have our worldview. We represent hundreds of thousands of their congregation, if not millions. As I'm sure you know, brother, the message from the black perspective as it relates to traditional values of family, traditional marriage, and anti-abortion just does not get out from a black perspective. We supposedly monolithically support this current administration along with the party that we've been all voting for collectively for years, to the point that we got elected twice. I don't need to go down that particular rabbit hole.
First and foremost, congratulations to you, and I can't think of a better man to be on that panel today. What was the panel about? And were there keynotes from that particular panel that you saw or heard?
Yes, there were keynotes. I don't have my notes in front of me, the names, but the nations that were represented were Nigeria, Kenya, as I mentioned. Most of the Caribbean islands were represented here today with Barbados. Oh, I did not mention that I have the Kraken with me here. The good reverend is also with me.
Releasing the Kraken?
Yeah. The Kraken is here. So he's here to, and let me tell you something, when he stood and said who he was and who he represented and so forth, all heads turned his way and they lined up to connect with him. It was just a really pleasant thing to see, for them to see that there are people who share the same values that they have. The only difference is we have a different pay job.
Exactly. We're talking with Lonnie Poindexter. We're not going to hold you much longer because we know that a lot of things are going on in Salt Lake City. We're looking forward to you coming back and talking about it in great detail. But there are pastors on the DL who don't have your kind of courage or the Kraken's kind of courage, and they just kind of milling about. I'll jump in the water if someone else jumps in the water. What do you say to them right now, sir?
It's really interesting. The good Reverend Kraken, you and I were talking about that yesterday. And what we have to do is continue to take a stand to be the bold ones that are on point, to probably take the most heat, because it will embolden those who maybe are sitting behind the scenes afraid to step up. Now, the ones who are not going to say anything because their bread gets buttered by the opposition, you and I both know they're not going to say anything. But there are those out there that have been timid up to this point because nobody wants to be character assassinated and have rocks thrown at them for speaking truth. But when they see us stand up in the numbers, ever-increasing numbers, for these types of initiatives, I have a good pastor and friend of mine that's here from Dayton, Ohio, Pastor Donovan Larkins, whose ministry is doing wonderful work in the great city just outside of Dayton, and many others that are flying in. Some more fluent tonight, and more will be coming in tomorrow. And we'll be representative of that great number that's growing. And I call it we talk about the silent majority. I don't know what you call the black pastoral community that nobody knows about, only because the media won't cover it. More and more are going to step up, brother. I'm seeing it all the time.
That's awesome. Simply awesome. Lonnie, how can ministers listening on the down low to this particular program join? It's true. You know it's true. I don't really listen to his show, but I can't stand anything he says.
They can reach out and listen more on the download of my show Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's the Lion Chaser Show. It's on urbanfamilytalk.com. Again, that's urbanfamilytalk.com, Lion Chaser Show, and catch our broadcast. We speak truth to power, and we speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help us God.
I want to thank God for you all being out there. Lonnie Poindexter, the Lion Chaser Emeritus, and also releasing the Kraken, Doctor. Yes. We don't call him Doctor yet, but he's working on it. The Right Reverend Ralph Chitums, the Kraken, who also the DC GOP Vice Chairman. God bless you all. Enjoy yourselves out in St. Louis. I look forward to your return.
God bless you.
Good. Man, that's a good friend of mine. Good friend of mine, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you right now, it is good to know that there are African American, colored, Negro, black, however way you wish to consider yourselves. We certainly don't want to be an offensive publisher of record, but my God, it's good to know that there are African Americans, coloreds, Negroes, blacks in Salt Lake City, and they're standing up for life. You know, the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness I was talking about earlier tonight. They're standing up for life. Not just the life that they see, not just the life that has the absolute power in Washington, D.C., but the life in the OB-GYN Center, the life that's on its way to Planned Parenthood tomorrow morning for an appointment for quote-unquote, what is that, the mammogram? Yeah, Planned Parenthood does mammograms. Bull. They're going there for the abortion. It is time, pastors, stop saying or repeating what Joshua said. Choose life. Stop saying it if you don't believe it. That's all I want you to do. Stop saying it. But if you believe the word of God, then you should be willing to be there in the morning when Planned Parenthood opens up in your neighborhood to escort the young lady to the counseling that she does need, to the prayer that she does need, to the salvation and deliverance that she does need, that child needs inside of her. You have been so bamboozled and hoodwinked and led astray. It's time for us as Americans. I don't care how you divide yourself, but pluribus unum, e pluribus unum, for many one. It's time for Americans to protect the lives of our children. Our children's lives depend on it.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. So we're making a pizza. We use French or bread and sausage, and cook here and slice it up. Our pizza is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and original. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now, we're going to prepare our famous Blackened Tilapia Earrings, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burger. So we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck pan patty burgers, like hamburger on the burger, we'll grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we put out the sauce and let it cook on it until it gets good. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. That could have been your burger. That could have been your burger right there. Infused Restaurant. You can give them a phone call at 301-449-9000. You can still get your order in. I think you still can. Before the show is over, you can order now. Go out there. You can still listen to the show via all the forms of communications that we have. But you can go and listen while you eat. You know, I recommend how to go get yourself a man, that burger is a bomb. Some days I wish my producer would just go out while I'm on the air and get me a infused burger. Inspire, indulge, infuse. You know you got catering coming up for the holidays. Make certain that you give them a phone call. You can do so at 301-449-9000, 301-449-9000, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. I know you're headed towards those other restaurants. Fast food. I heard processed meat gives you cancer. That's what they told us today. They also told us many years ago that salt kills you. And sugar kills you too, so just keep on. Did you know that food kills you? That's what they. If you live long enough, food will kill you. So I just wanted to let you know that. But if you're going to die, oh, you better die with this burger in your mouth. I'll tell you, the infused burger. No, I know that they're going to. That was unnecessary, kid. Don't be using us as our food won't kill you. No, their food will not kill you because it's really, really good. Saturday and Sundays are open for brunch from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. We encourage you. Inspire, indulge, infuse. Did you hear that earlier today? That apparently processed meat kills? That's what they... I lie to you not. Now, you know I'm a good eater. I love to eat. I'm a man who loves food. When they said get something to eat, I was a brother who was like already in line. I'm just telling you, that's what I was. But we're getting the news today that processed meat kills. Okay, and apparently it's from the World Health Organization. You know, the World Health Organization is also responsible for people leaving in droves on migration into Western Europe. You know the one. Yeah. So, and these are the processes. Apparently, it causes colorectal cancer. Eating red meat probably can cause cancer. Eating hot dogs can cause cancer. Eating ham and other processed meat can cause cancer. That's what they're reporting. Okay? That's what the World Health Organization is reporting. Cancer research in the United Kingdom. Okay? Cancer research, United Kingdom. Science blog. This is what they're writing about it. They say you've probably seen today's headlines about the fact that processed meat has been classified as a definite cause of cancer, and red meat is a probable cause. The decision, coordinated by a respected international body, who respects the World Health Organization? Which one of you doofuses said you respected them? Nobody on my staff said it. No one on my staff. Has been so highly anticipated by the media that speculation about the announcement has been building since last week. But a link between certain types of meat and some forms of cancer, notably bowel cancer, isn't new news. The evidence has been building for decades and is supported by a lot of careful research. Nevertheless, today's announcement is significant. It comes from the International Agency for Research on Cancer, which is a part of the World Health Organization there. And so these scientists, doesn't this remind you of climate change? These scientists, after carrying out more than 800 stories, these scientists, I think there should be a test to see if you're a scientist. Their decisions carry a lot of clout, especially with governments and regulators. Governments and regulators. Can I put that in the chat room? Because this is all really about. Okay, let me put this in the chat roll here for those who follow along at the exceptionalconservativeShow.com. Notice how they chose bacon. You know what I'm saying? They chose bacon. I mean, bacon, you can have bacon on ice cream. I mean, bacon has become a icon in American eating. Dave Milner, the unpleasant blind guy, in our chat roll. God bless you. Glad to have you here. He says, Ken, that's why I said what I did about the processed meat tax. The processed taxes. It's all about regulation, baby. They're coming after. It's about absolute control. Control of your eating. Control of your money. Control of your lifestyle. Oh my goodness. I can see now the vegans are like, oh my God, thank God they released that report. Oh, go vegan. You know what I'm saying? I want meat. I don't. Dave Miller says, according to the Arby's commercial, bacon is the present pigs give you when you're good. I've been good. I've been good. Give me more bacon. Now, apparently, the UK reports the evidence so far. There's now a large body of evidence that bowel cancer is more common among people who eat the most red and processed meat. Notice how they said the most red and processed meat. Meaning that if you eat it rare, there's a likelihood. And you have to understand science. Okay? You have to understand science. Notice how they say that it's classified as a definite cause of cancer, and red meat is a probable cause. Okay, cause and effect is measured differently in English than it is in science. There is a correlation between those who eat these things and those who also have bowel cancer. That's the way it should be reported, but it's not going to be reported that way. It's not going to be reported that way because someone's sitting at home thinking tonight, oh my God, if I eat this hamburger, I'm going to die! It's part of the control. It's part of the, and that's what we've been talking about tonight. But we've been talking about it in terms of economics. This is a huge economic problem. And let me just put in there what this decision means. This is from the good people at the Cancer Research United Kingdom. They don't want to pontificate on this because they are probably also culprits in it. What does this decision from IARC mean? Whatever the underlying mechanism, there's now sufficient evidence for IARC to rule that processed meat definitely causes cancer and that red meat probably causes cancer. But to really understand what this means and doesn't mean, you need to know a bit about IARC's categories. Now you see, you're not hearing any of this, and that's why I'm so glad that you've tuned in tonight to the Exceptional Conservative Show. Okay? Because you know I'm a lover of food. I love me some eating. Alright? I do. But to say that because you're eating a hamburger you're going to get cancer is research malpractice. There is a correlation, but not a direct cause and effect. Correlation, not direct cause and effect. Apparently, when IARC assesses the evidence on a particular cancer risk, it assigns it to one of several groups, which, as the graphic shows below, represents how confident they are that it causes cancer in people. So it's based on scientific confidence. The same scientific confidence that tells you because you breathe and fart, you are destroying the climate. It is the same group of scientists. And listen, I'm not saying to you not to get checked for these things. And I'm not saying to you that cancer doesn't exist. My mother had cancer, and she's recovered from it. And it was a matter of her personal, and so I don't want to get into all the details about it, but she overcame it. Okay? Healed by the Lord. But IARC has carcinogenic classification groups. I noticed smoking's not up there, but these things cause cancer. Currently, processed meats have been given Group 1 classification. It includes salami. It includes bacon and sausage and hot dog. Do you wonder who put this study together in the IARC, the international group? Do you think that maybe some of them were Mohammedans? Do you believe Mohammedans may be responsible for this study? Because bacon is the problem. My favorite foods are carcinogens and cholesterol. You know what? Mine are too. I love this stuff. Oh man! And listen, if I want to die, notice how you can die a certain way. And they call it what is that death type of thing where it's compassionate death or something. Death by doctor or something or whatever, and if you're compassionate enough, you'll let people die that way. Well, they should be equally compassionate enough to let me die this way. I love some bacon, some sausages and hot dogs. That's apparently in group number 1. Group number 1 causes cancer. Apparently bacon is the reason why you die. And then in group 2A, probably causes cancer, they have included the pork industry, which I don't understand this. How is it that the bacon causes cancer, but the rest of the pork doesn't? Explain that to me, doctor. I don't know. And Dave Milner's in the chat room with me. Dave is looking at the same thing I'm looking at. How is it that pork, euthanasia, thank you. I think the Mohammedans put this report together. How is it that pork is probable cancer, but bacon is definitely cancer? Wait, how do you get that? How? I mean, in addition, there are three other groups. 2B, which is possibly causes cancer. Group 3, which is not classifiable as a cause of cancer. And then number 4, probable but not a cause of cancer. Okay? This is what is explained. As Professor Phillips explains, IARC does hazard identification, not risk assessment. Let me... Now, I'm so glad you're listening to this show. Those who are listening to this show are not going to be scared. They're not going to be throwing out all their meat from out of their refrigerator and going vegan overnight. You're not going to do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. This is a direct attack by the left, who like people to have shortages of everything. You know, there's no better way to know that a theory works than to make sure that everyone is equally as poor as you. In order for us to share the wealth, we must all become poor. That's just the way it's done. But apparently, this is a hazard identification, not a risk assessment. All right? So you have to be very careful about what they're doing here. This is really an outward attack against the meat and poultry. And, well, the poultry's not listed, but you might as well include it. They're saying don't include chicken and fish, but, you know, they're coming after chicken and fish, too. These categories represent how likely something is to cause cancer in humans, not how many cancers it causes. Notice how you didn't hear that today. All right? Now, how many cancers it causes. So you have little biddies just graduated from college going into the store holding up red meat and processed meat and saying these things are causing cancer. Back to you, Bill. Irresponsible reporting. That sounds quite technical, is what Professor Phillips says. But what it means is that IARC isn't in the business of telling us now how potent something is in causing cancer or whether it does so or not, he says. Can I put that in there and then you all can share this story? Please share this story on the internet. Go to Facebook and share this story. Ken, invite Trump and tear him to shreds. No, I'm not going to do that. He probably wouldn't come anyway because I'm not big enough in the industry for him to care. He wants to go on Megyn Kelly's show. I'll be good to him. I think I would be good to him. You've been nice to me. Yeah. Have you been nice to him? I've been nice to him. To take an analogy, think of banana skins. They definitely can cause accidents, explains Phillips. But in practice, this doesn't happen very often unless you work in a banana factory. And the sort of harm you can come to from slipping on a banana skin isn't generally as severe as, say, being in a car accident. But under a hazard identification system like IARC's, banana skins and cars will come under the same category. They both definitely do cause accidents. Ladies and gentlemen, please stop letting those people on the left scare you from what God created. God said, don't tell me anything I created is bad. I don't want to hear it. All the food I ever made is good. All you got to do is eat it. Do it in moderation. Don't put bacon on everything. You'll be all right. Now, here is something, and then we're going to get back to economics. I mentioned tobacco versus meat. I had not gotten to this part in the study, but here it is. It's in the study. Tobacco versus meat here. The evidence that processed meat causes cancer is as strong as the evidence for tobacco, but the risk for tobacco is much higher. It's just absolutely ridiculous, and they allow. I don't understand it. They allow people to come on the air and quote this foolishness. 3% of all cancers come from processed or red meat. 3%. That's the equality of the number of gay people there are in the United States of America, of the entire population, 3%. Now, when you're in San Francisco, New York, Atlanta, or Washington, D.C., and you see 40% of the population gay, you think, oh my God, the whole world's gay. No, they are all in one place. That's the reason why you think so. But really, only 3%, baby. Only 3%. 21% of all bowel cancers are the responsibility of processed or red meat. 21%. Okay? The governor from New Jersey would love to have 21% right now in the polls. He would. But in life, that 21% is not enough. Let's go to cancer caused by tobacco. And y'all know I'm going to cue up my, I haven't seen that thing in a while. I got to play that. Cancer caused by tobacco. 19%. More than almost 7 times as many cancers are caused by tobacco than they are red meat. 7 times. 7 times. Almost 7 times, people. Cancers caused by tobacco. 86% of lung cancers are caused by tobacco. I had the opportunity of sharing time, and as a minister, I go to hospitals with individuals and pray for them. But a woman suffered congestive heart failure. And women, you don't think you can have a heart attack? Guess what? Stand in line. Suffered congestive heart failure. And I want you to understand, the woman has stopped smoking 20 years ago. She has stopped smoking 20 years ago. She literally was at a point where she could not breathe. I can't think of anything worse than drowning or suffocating. Really, that's not how I want to go. But to actually feel like you're breathing through the straw that you use to stir your coffee. That's what she was feeling yesterday. And she found out that she was suffering from congestive heart failure. So the bottom line is, after 20 years of smoking and then 20 years of stopping, the effects of smoking were greater than her effects of stopping. 86% of lung cancers caused by tobacco. They're not caused by red meat. Just saying. Just saying. Okay. This is what the Cancer Research UK writes. They say, so our advice on diet stays the same. Eat plenty of fiber, fruit and vegetables, cut back on red and processed meat, and salt, and limit your alcohol intake. It might sound boring, but it's true. Healthy living is all about moderation. Did I not just... God said it, I repeated it, and now the science people are saying the same thing. It's moderation, baby. Moderation. I just don't understand. I just don't understand why you would have a little girl who just graduated from college, who looks cute, all her hips and everything else is still in the right place. Gravity hasn't hit her yet. She got stuff hanging from the weave that they put in her head to make her hair look long. And she comes on the air with her stilettos on and tells you that red meat causes cancer and you're gonna all die if you eat at the Wendy's this weekend. I'm sorry, not the Wendy's. You're not going to eat it. If you eat at Infused restaurant this weekend, you're going to die. Ladies and gentlemen, stop the madness. Stop the madness. One more time, we'll be right back for the final quarter of the Exceptional Conservative Show.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the Raven Restaurant, and today I'm walking through some of the meals that we prepared We're making a big salad. We use French or salad and sausage. Like that. Cook here and slice it up. Our pizza crust is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and original. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs with really some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now, we're going to prepare our famous miraculous tilapia noodles, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burger. So we keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA round chuck pan patty burgers, nice half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook all over the we're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. I want all my bacon on top of my nice red meat. There you go. And you can get it all at a wonderful, wonderful price at Infused Restaurant. I'm talking Chef Arnold does a wonderful job. That's all I got to say. All I got to say. Well, actually, I got more to say. Infused Restaurant, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748, 301-449-9000. Ah, man, I tell you, I wish somebody would make me a burger right now. That's the way I'm feeling right now. How dare you tell me that my burger is the reason why I'm going to die? Come on, people. Stop it. Stop the madness. I'm putting that stuff out right there at theexceptionalconservativeshow.com. You can also go to the Facebook page of the Exceptional Conservative Show. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see it for yourself. It's a bunch of bull. It is really a bunch of bull. And if you keep listening to people tell you this kind of stuff, you will surrender to their absolute control. Okay? All right? Processed meat and cancer. Let's just be honest. Professor Phillips explains that he says it's a hazard identification, not a risk assessment. They can't tell you anything about this stuff, but they can tell you everything about this stuff, and you need to be very careful about that. Here is something that I wanted to talk with you about tonight. It is a concept that somehow exchanging your economic proclivity for security in exchange for your risk taking will garner you the ability to thrive. It doesn't. We have a very wicked view of what production is in urban America. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in his speech, goes on to write, and I'm going to read to you what he crossed out. Okay? He says, it is originally typed, in our day, these economic truths have become accepted. He crossed out these and replaced it with certain. In our day, certain economic truths have become accepted. Okay? Well, when you write these economic truths, which economic truths are you talking about? Well, what he's talking about is socialism. That's what he's talking about. And what he's talking about, by crossing out these and then saying certain, okay, and let me explain to you via the etymology, okay. When you use certain, you're saying that a fixed idea or a sure idea, a settled science. Let's go with that. It is a settled science, is what he's trying to say here. Okay? Now, where have we heard the term settled science before? Climate change. So, the same tools that are being used by Franklin Delano Roosevelt are being used by modern day socialists. He is saying certain economic truths, but he's saying that this is a settled science. Economics is a science, or at least a philosophy, but nonetheless a science. He's saying that it is a settled science, and that it is self-evident too. Meaning that others have experienced giving up the ability to create wealth for the security of government. He crosses out, we have accepted, so to speak. He crossed that out. He says, and this is how the sentence reads, in our day, certain economic truths have been accepted as self-evident, a second Bill of Rights under which he clearly goes, he takes away, we have accepted. What he's saying is, he is literally reframing the U.S. Constitution, or at least the Declaration of Independence. He is making a Declaration of Independence. I don't know if anyone has ever explained this way to you. But if you look at the actual writing of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he is at war not with Germany and not with Japan. He is at war with the American people. I know, you don't want to hear it. Franklin Delano Roosevelt is a nice guy. You don't know what you're talking about. He is at war with the American. He has declared war. If you believe in the Constitution, he just declared war on you. What type of war? An economic war. What does economics impact? It impacts everything in your society. If I just impacted education, yes, I would have an impact on all. Eventually, over time, but not as dramatic. If I were to have a political impact, it would happen over time. Over time, but not as dramatic. What he has just done is declared war on the U.S. Constitution. And in declaring war on the U.S. Constitution, he has made it abundantly clear that it is the sake of science by which he is devouring the U.S. Constitution. 9 out of 10 dentists agree that a good government job is far better than you being able to create wealth. In our day, he says, in his day, in this moment, never let a crisis go to waste. When people are hungry, take away their rights. This is what he's saying to you. In our day, certain economic truths have become accepted as self-evident. A second Bill of Rights, under which a new basis of security and prosperity can be established for all, regardless of station, race, or creed. Now, some of you all will be upset with me because I'm about to switch gears on you. Yeah, I do that. But why would he be worried about those particular things? He's worried about those things because in the study of economics, if you can blemish the production and control the consumption, you have absolute control. If you can blemish the production and control the consumption, you have absolute control. What he is doing here is establishing a war that rhinos have lightly fainted against in fighting, but submit to because they believe the same thing. It is you, Mr. and Mrs. Conservative, that's the last bastion. You are the warrior on the wall, the watchman on the wall. You are the last link to stopping the full-on press of Marxism. The classification for consumption, you have to look at food, clothing and footwear, housing, heating and energy, health, transport, house furniture and appliances, communication, culture and schooling, entertainment. Those 10 things make up the bulk of the consumption that satisfies our needs. What Franklin Delano Roosevelt is doing here is telling you that you once had the independence and the freedom to control all of those things. Now I'm about to control those for you. I know. This is a little too heavy for some people tonight. Let me go to Andrew Bremer. Andrew Bremer wrote an article called Issues in the Black Community, Income, Wealth, and Investment Behavior in the Black Community. And I'm going to read from you a portion from page 151 of his book, Income, Wealth, and Investment Behavior in the Black Community. At least his paper. He writes, over time, as blacks' incomes have risen, they have increased their saving rate, and this has enabled them to enlarge their accumulation of assets. However, blacks' share of wealth is much smaller than their share of income. The profile of asset accumulation by blacks generally parallels that in the economy at large, yet a few striking differences in asset preferences, distinguished by the degree of risk involved. The degree of risk involved are evident when blacks' portfolios are compared with those held by whites. Most blacks have little knowledge. Most blacks have little knowledge of the stock market, and they have developed only a weak demand for equity securities. However, over time, as their incomes rise further, and as they acquire more familiarity with common stocks, more blacks will include these issues in their investment portfolios. The accumulation of wealth by blacks falls substantially short of what one might have expected from a familiarity with the money income figures available annually. The size of the deficit in black wealth can be measured on the basis of data on the U.S. Bureau of Census. Using these figures to tell the estimates of the amount of composition of wealth held by households in the United States, and that was back in 1984, the estimates are shown in Table 1. In compiling the data, the Census Bureau did not include the assets that individuals had accumulated in the form of pension funds, life insurance policy reserves, and Social Security contributions. The Census Bureau data show net worth, which represents the market value of the specified assets owned by households minus the household's total liabilities. Let me read this to you. In 1984, the wealth of the black community amounted to $208.2 billion. Thus, blacks own 3% of the $6.9 billion, well, actually it would be trillion, well, $6,912.2 billion, which is basically $1 trillion of accumulated wealth. In 1984, blacks received 7.2% of the nation's total money income. Therefore, their share of wealth was less than half of their share of income. Their share of wealth was less than half of their income. In exchange for the assurance of a good job, blacks have suffered in 3 basic areas: production, labor, and mass production, at least. Okay. Why have they suffered in these particular areas? Well, production would include land. Mass production, factories. And cost of labor would be employment created through jobs or profit. For those who are able to find work, they expend a great deal of their resources on consumption, not investments. Because if you were to use investments, you would be able to buy land. You would also create jobs. Malcolm X was talking about you being able to create the work that you're expecting the white man to produce for you, so that all black lives would matter. Because black Americans and urban Americans have accepted Marxism as a strategy of economic security, their inability to risk their own personal wealth has created the shortfall that they see in their communities today. Tomorrow we will take a look at the wickedness of consumption and how absolute control will disable any community. Ladies and gentlemen, a man once told me, do not die a coward, live bravely. I promise you I will. Thank you so much for listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. God bless America. Now America, bless God.
Thank you.